Bradford, northwest England. The landscape of this city centre is about to change forever. This is Provincial House, an 8-storey office block that was built 30 years ago. Once a bustling home to an insurance firm, it has been a derelict eyesore for 8 years. This condemned building is about to make way for a brand new shopping mall, thanks to this team, the Controlled Demolition Group, one of the world's best at blowdowns. But Bradford is a big job for them. They have done blowdowns all around the world, but never on their own doorstep. Provincial House is just 6 miles away from their HQ. If any job has to go right, it's this one. Failure is not an option. Blowing down a building takes seconds, but it takes months of preparation, and this is how it's done. Rip out everything, stuff it with explosives, connect them all up, get out of the way, blow it down.
2, a 1, a fire now.
Sounds simple. It's not. Provincial House is a headache. It's in the hub of the city centre and is surrounded by a busy high street. Shops are slap bang next to it. They could all be wiped out by 10,000 tons of rubble. One mistake, and Bradford could end up looking like a war zone. Only 2 days to go until Provincial House has to be blown down. Explosives engineer Mick Williams is the man in charge. He's grown up with buildings coming down.
My father used to do it. So from being knee-high to a grasshopper, I used to go around with him, placing explosives in chimneys, things like that. So it was something that I was like brought up with, but really wanted to do when I grew up, although my father didn't want me to do it. Well, I've done for the rest of my life. It's a really good day for putting the curtains up.
Mick's worried. There are now only 48 hours to go until blowdown.
This is a tough job, this one. It's not always this bad. It's been a tight programme here, so we're up against it a bit this week.
The tight schedule has meant that the explosives have not all been put in place or connected. Everybody is working flat out. Dick Green, ex-army, has over 30 years of experience working with explosives.
It's got to go at the time specified, and that's irrelevant of whether the weather's been torrential rain, high winds all week, kit hasn't turned up. We've got to make it work, and we can only do that by working as a team and all working together.
Urban blowdowns are on the increase. Traditional ball and chain demolitions are too slow and too expensive, but the risks are higher. Inner city buildings are high and close up to others. To take them out safely takes meticulous research and years of experience. Provincial House is no exception.
Well, what we've done is look round the building to see where we've got any space at all, see if we could take it in one direction, because that's the most simplest thing to do, along with our structural engineers. And because it's in such a confined space, there's nowhere really to tip it into. So what we're trying to do with the building is demolish it from the middle, get the middle to collapse, and progressively delay it outwards with the explosives to get the gable ends to pull into the middle of the site.
To avoid wiping out the city centre, the first part of the building to explode is the middle section. As the middle begins to implode, the outer sections are timed to explode milliseconds later, so they fall into the space where the middle section used to be. The building must fall into its own footprint. If it works, it will look like this. If it doesn't, it will look like this. The success of the blowdown depends on Mick choosing the right explosives. Mick has chosen 2 types. The first, detonating cord, is the most commonly used on concrete buildings like Provincial House and is used to blast through thin walls. Placed inside the supporting walls, the cord will easily rip them apart. There's also dynamite or nitroglycerin, which has been used in demolition for over 40 years, but it has come a long way from its cartoon image of a lit fuse and big bang. This amount is all that is needed to take out this big pillar.
If you watch the old cowboy films, you used to see the wagon with the nitroglycerine in, making its way, and every time it hit a rock, John Wayne held his breath and everything went quiet for a bit. We've come on a bit since then. It's quite stable explosives, and provided it's treated with respect and a bit of care, it's safe in an engineer's hands. It's just like a tool, basically. If you use a hammer wrong, you end up with a black thumbnail. If you use explosives wrong, the implications are a little bit worse.
But in this building, with it being such big columns, it needs a fair bit of explosives to remove the concrete, so it's mainly getting it right to make sure we get enough strength out of it so it collapses, but not throwing concrete all over the place as well.
Dynamite is combined with detonating cord. It may look like a harmless washing line, but inside the plastic casing is powder explosives. It's capable of taking down small concrete pillars and thin exterior walls.
The detonator will take your fingers off. The cord, wrap round your arm and cut your arm off. I mean, you can use the cord, wrap round small tree stumps to chop through tree stumps, things like that. Just very careful what you do with it, that's all. Treat it with the respect it deserves.
Not every floor has explosives. Mick targets blast floors. Of the 8 stories of Provincial House, only 3 will be charged. 1 on the ground, 1 in the middle, and 1 near the top. The explosives on the blast floors will take out the load-bearing walls and columns. Like a deck of cards, gravity and the sheer weight of the debris will take out the floors underneath. Provincial House will end up with 20 kilograms of explosives. Every single stick of dynamite will be linked together in a large loop with 6 kilometers of tubing. To the outsider, it looks like the team are sitting on a time bomb. But all of the explosives are redundant until these are connected. The detonators. They look like silver bullets and are the key to a successful blowdown. Every explosive has a detonator attached to it. When the blowdown is fired, a spark travels down the connecting wire to each detonator. This spark triggers off the detonator and ignites the explosives. Each detonator also contains a timing device that determines what section of the building explodes first, second, or third. It's all timed to perfection, but one missing link means it can all go wrong. With either nothing coming down or parts of the building tipping in the wrong direction. One of the shops in this firing line is the hairdressing salon owned by Michael Overend. It's a mere 10 meters from Provincial House.
Soft look, where it's kind of like kicking out and giving you a lot more shape and volume, and more volume in through. Obviously, there is a risk, you know, like, things may go wrong. We've been here 8 years, we're well established. My main concern is actually, if it gets flattened, it's not as much of a problem as if we're unable to work from here for a period of maybe 2 to 3 months while repairs happen. And so I want the street to be cleared as soon as possible, so we basically have access for the start of the following week. I'll just be more relieved when we come in here on the Sunday morning and see that everything's still in place, rather than coming in and thinking, shit.
Darren Palin is MD of the Controlled Demolition Group. Part of his job is to reassure people like Michael their controlled explosions are safe.
Unfortunately, most people, think it's like the movies, and they refer to kind of terrorist bombs and these things being blown up. We try to refer to it as a blow down, i.e., the structure's there and we're bringing this thing down to the floor.
24 hours to blow down. The team are still up against it. The work effort is not just confined to the building. The team have to ensure that nothing underneath Provincial House is damaged.
Hidden from view are fibre optic cables beneath the ground, close proximity of a water main and also a gas main. So those are the kind of invisible things that we're having to deal with the controlled explosive demolition.
Water mains and electricity have to be diverted and the gas cut off. Failure to do this would totally disable Bradford city centre. To protect the city further requires a massive cover-up job. Every pillar that has been charged with explosives and every blast floor window is covered up with a thick plastic called terram. When the explosives are fired, it contains any concrete or shrapnel flying out into the streets. when you are up against it, the last thing you want is a nasty surprise. A random check reveals millions of tiny polystyrene balls that have been used for insulation. It's a complete nightmare that could leave their home turf of Bradford looking like it had been hit by a blizzard.
Usually we found all the problems a couple of weeks before, but this is one we didn't expect at all. It's not anywhere else in the building. It's just a matter of getting guys in from other jobs now because we've got that much work on at the moment that we can't afford to take anybody off what they're doing. So it's got to come out.
This is the last thing Mick needed. As night begins to fall, the deadline of 9 a.m. Sunday morning seems impossible.
Whatever happens, it's got to go at 9 o'clock, so therefore the lads know that and they've got to work through tonight to whatever time to make sure it's done, and not only done, but done properly, because obviously you can't sacrifice safety, you can't say, oh, we won't bother doing that protection or we won't do this. It's all got to be done properly. So it's going to be probably a long night.
Coming up, as the building comes down, has Michael Overend's salon survived the blast?
I'd just like to get a closer look, really.
It's nearly 10 p.m. Less than 12 hours until the blowdown of Provincial House. Mick and his team have still not finished laying the explosives or connecting the detonators.
When the lads have been working all day, they get tired. You've got to be very careful that they don't do anything stupid or anything, so give them a few breaks. That's why we've been working late. We've got to give them breaks and things, and we've just got to get the job done. Putting the final holes in the last lift shaft, and we've virtually finished the charging now. We've just got the last few holes, so we're just following the lads around. Not much rest tonight, I'm afraid.
As Bradford prepares itself for a Saturday night out, the team are faced with working into the small hours in a grueling effort to get the job done. Sunday morning, 6 a.m. The team have had to work all night to prepare for the blowdown. In 3 hours' time, Provincial House will be destroyed. Against all the odds, the building is ready. The priority now is to evacuate the surrounding area. Dick Green is in charge of blocking off the streets and marshalling his troops to make sure that nobody gets into the exclusion zone.
This is the morning of. This is it, only thinking, have we done everything? Have we done everything right? Have we done enough? And just making sure, we're checking in our minds that everything's done correctly.
Inside Provincial House, Mick checks that the explosives are ready for blowdown.
So we've just got to make sure every one of these gets to the line that goes down the middle, because it was so late last night when we were connecting this up. Early this morning, we just want to make sure we haven't missed anything.
It's now 6:20, so there's not a lot of time till 9 o'clock. It will soon go.
The building will come down, definitely. A bit apprehensive about how close the buildings are, windows, things like that, but if that's the worst thing that happens, a few broken windows, we'll be quite happy. Hopefully. Nothing, hopefully.
Michael Overend is worried he is seeing his shop for the last time.
It's about 7:30, 8 o'clock now, and it's reality strikes home, I suppose. It happens this morning in about an hour or so, and we're just hoping that, touch wood, it'll drop as planned. I didn't feel nervous at all until this morning.
Provincial House is facing its last 15 minutes as Bradford's blot on the landscape.
Okay, listen everybody, it's nearly 9:15. We're going to do a final radio check. Sentry number 1, radio check.
Dick will coordinate the countdown, while Mick does a crucial check to make sure that the wire that will carry the charge to the explosives is working.
That's just the end of the reel that we've put off, because we've got enough reel, so I'm just going to fire this off just to test the explosives, all right?
6 over.
Yeah.
7 over.
See, I don't know if you can zoom in down there, just create a little spark when I press the button. You ready? That's what initiates the explosives inside the tube. That's just a safety key.
9 over.
Be clear. haven't got a 9.
And if you can get down the line at all, you'll see it's flat. That's fast. You wouldn't run away from that one.
2 people walk in front of the City Hall, doing the horse guards bit.
Whip straight up the staircase in a split second, straight across all the floors, initiate all the connectors. 100 milliseconds after the connectors are initiated. It's only a tenth of a second when it starts to go bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, they have.
The film crew that are by the firing point and the firing team. There should be nobody else at all in the zone at this time. Stay vigilant. 11 minutes to blow down. Out.
Time is fast running out, and over 1,000 people have turned up to watch.
We're just setting the sirens all set up, the maroon set up, the buttons set up. Everybody's in position, everybody's clear of the zone except for the firing team. So we're good for a 9 o'clock blowdown.
The siren warns the city of Bradford to brace themselves for blowdown. Provincial House will soon be destroyed. Michael is checking his insurance is up to date. 30 seconds before every blowdown, a maroon is fired off. It's like a big firework and warns the city to brace itself for a much bigger bang.
Just so you know, there'll be a loud bang half a minute before the demolition, so there'll be a rocket goes up and makes a loud bang. There'll be only 30 seconds before the blowdown, so don't expect the building to start moving then. There'll be another 30 seconds, but you'll hear the countdown through the radio probably. Fire maroon, fire maroon.
Seconds to go. The reputation of the team is on the line, so is the salon of Michael Overend.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire now.
Rewind. After 30 years, it took a mere 6 seconds to reduce Provincial House to rubble. But the 6 seconds it took for it to come down seemed like hours to Michael Overend. From his vantage point, it looked like Provincial House has taken out his salon. This is a very worried man.
The shop's still there, but I mean, like, how much actual physical damage there is to the building, isn't it? And if there's a lot of damage to the building, and if there's a lot of repair work to done, it's how solid the building is, isn't it? It's just frightening, really, isn't it? I'd just like to get a closer look, really.
Is there cause for concern? A camera left inside the salon will tell us. Worried, Michael goes in to survey the damage. Alarm bells are literally ringing. But this worried man is now very relieved. 10,000 tons has just blown down 10 meters from his shop. But the only damage is a broken pane of glass and a bit of dust.
Now I've kind of like come in and seen it, it's not as bad as I feared, so pretty impressed really. It's just nice kind of like knowing that we can come in back to work next week without too many problems.
There is some minor damage. Some of the rubble has spilled over the boundary and some shops have been damaged. But that's it. Provincial House has come down according to plan. The middle coming down first, with the two outer sections crumbling inwards.
Kind of your whole life flashes before you for the last 10 seconds on the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7.
Just thinking hopefully it goes as it's been planned and it's a success on the day. Got a full view of the whole building coming down in a split second.
8 weeks of hard work, 150 strong workforce, 3,000 detonators, 20 kilograms of explosive, 6 kilometers of tubing, 200 shops evacuated, all for one building.
Come down really well, the building. Unfortunately, we've caused a little bit of damage on the shops at the back. It's it's not structural damage, so it's just took like a timber frame out the front, which we'll have to just get replaced. We've cracked a couple of windows, so really quite pleased with the job.
I mean, the actual general public and kind of all the people, backroom staff are all very happy. The clean-up obviously takes a lot longer than the actual kind of doing the job on the day. So yeah, we're all very happy and looking forward to Sunday lunch.
Liverpool, England, not just famous for its music and its landmarks, but also famous for its shipyard, Camel Laird's. This site in Birkenhead was a world beater, making vessels that have graced every stretch of water in the world. And it was these cranes that helped pave the way to a golden age of British shipbuilding. But those days are over. These dinosaur-like reminders are about to get a bolt of comet-sized proportions. Expert explosive engineers, the Controlled Demolition Group, are on site. Mick Williams and Dick Green have joined forces with Phil Lowe and Holly Bennett, and they're about to be tested to the limit. 5 days, 3 cranes, 1 mission, bring them all down. It's a job that will see them battling gale force winds, an unrelenting deadline.
Behind, as we've been all the way through.
A steel demolition with potentially fatal consequences.
Oh, come on! 5 minutes!
And even a newborn baby.
Is it alright if I go? Baby's coming.
There's truly no such thing as an ordinary day in demolition. Great Britain's seafaring history owes a great debt not only to the cranes, but the whole Camel Laird site. Originally established in 1824, at its peak, the yard employed 12,000 people, and without them, Britain's Polaris nuclear submarines and naval ships like the Ark Royal would never have ruled the waves. But by the mid-80s, the industry was in decline, and in 1993, the yard was closed. Down, but not quite out. The job will be like going 10 rounds with 3 heavyweight boxers. Weighing in at 1,000 tons each, there's no doubt they can certainly pack a punch. And standing 80 meters tall, they'll be a formidable opponent that'll be hard to knock out. To plot the crane's downfall, the team will have to weaken them by punching their way through the soft midsection at the front of each one. Explosives are then placed on each front leg. When they blow, the momentum should propel the cranes forward to safety. Here's the checklist. Give it a few jabs to the midriff. Pinpoint the weak spots. Tie it in knots. Duck and dive. Apply the sucker punch. That's the plan, but would it work? Day one sees Holly Bennett and Phil Lowe discussing tactics.
So we've got 10 cutting charges.
38-year-old Phil has only been with controlled demolition for about 2 years, but has a wealth of explosive knowledge behind him. While Holly started on site aged 18, she's now one of only 3 women in the world qualified as an explosives engineer.
When I first started, I used to just go to blowdowns on a weekend. Eventually sort of built up a little bit more. 6 years later, I'm still here, unfortunately. It's very cold in winter, horrible, in fact, but summer's fantastic.
The key challenge of the early stages is to knock out the middle sections at the front of each crane.
At the moment, what they're doing on this crane here is just taking out the non-structural steel work so that we can get in to do the pre-weakening and to weld the blast plates on.
But because the site is so open, the cranes are extremely susceptible to freak gusts of wind.
When we're doing steel work, there may sometimes be a problem with wind speed. So we've got the weather forecast for this week and it's looking quite good, so we can carry on with our pre-weakening work. We're looking at wind speeds today of 3 miles an hour, which is nothing. Although it is going to pick up a bit towards the end of the week, we're not looking at anything major at the moment.
If the winds reach a critical gale force speed, it will send the weakened cranes toppling down without the aid of explosives. Much cheaper than a controlled blowdown, but potentially fatal. And just in case you thought it was unlikely, take a look at this. The last time winds reached gale force on the Mersey. There used to be 4 cranes on site, but this one was blown over in freak weather conditions, and it wasn't even weakened. It's not just the wind that's a cause for concern. The deadline for the blowdown is 11 a.m. on Sunday. By now, every crane should have had its midsection removed, but the team have only finished 1 crane. That leaves 2 more to go, but only 4 days to do them.
We're a bit behind on this job and we're going to have to work a lot of hours and do a lot of hard work to get it back.
Evening turns to night, and it's all quiet on Merseyside. Day 2, Holly and Phil are still battling hard to maintain momentum. But it's almost as if the cranes are putting up one last stand. Halfway through the day, and controlled demolition call in the heavy artillery, in the shape of explosives engineer Mick Williams. They're trying everything they can to claw back lost time, but it's not working.
It's been a hectic day today. Apart from the weather, it's been probably the worst day that could possibly happen. The weather's kept up for us, but it's took us 3 times as long to do the prep work than we thought it would. We've come across a few complications with bracings to remove that had fully welded plates behind that we had to get off. That's took a long time, and it's just physically taking longer than we expected to, so we are behind slightly now. We should have charged some. We should have had one of the cranes fully charged today. We won't get any explosives on at all now until tomorrow.
And with the battle to get the cranes ready continuing, the only blowdowns they'll see is in their dreams. This is the dream, but the reality of a steel blowdown means it's one of the most dangerous in the business. Anytime explosives are added to metal, it can lead to blast shrapnel, every explosives engineer's worst nightmare. If things go wrong, the blowdown will propel large shards of steel towards these buildings. Each one is only meters away from the cranes. Blast shrapnel is extremely difficult to prevent and control, and what's more, it travels as fast as a jumbo jet, so the risks for buildings and anyone caught in the line of fire are high. But even when the cranes come down, they're still a cause for concern. Despite the time each crane has been out of use, they all still contain large amounts of oil. When the cranes hit the drop zone, it's possible the oil could spill, with the real prospect it could end up in the River Mersey, creating an extreme environmental hazard. The only way to stop it is by creating a bank that should hopefully contain any spillage when the cranes hit the deck. Mick, Holly and Phil are well and truly on the ropes. There's absolutely nothing to look forward to as the work goes on and on and on. At least with nightfall, nothing else can go wrong.
Good evening. Well, straight away, a word of warning. We are expecting some pretty heavy rainfall tonight. The wind's the main thing tomorrow. Gale force winds expected there in the northwest and down the Irish Sea, so be warned about these.
Oh dear. Coming up in part 2, the wind takes its toll, and Mick looks like he's about to throw in the towel.
Getting a bit worried that we're going to be a no-go.
The morning of day 3. The last few days have seen controlled demolition fighting to keep on top of the demanding schedule as they prepare for the demolition of 3 cranes at the Camel Laird shipyard in Liverpool. By now, the cranes should be cut. The explosive should be on, and the connections should be made. But it's not going to plan. Now there's just 48 hours to go till a blowdown, and the team's stress levels are rising. But so too is the wind speed. An ill wind is blowing across the Mersey. If it becomes too high, everything will come to a complete standstill.
The forecast for the week earlier on in the week was going to be good weather all week, but it's getting pretty miserable, as you can see. And we've heard a forecast of high winds coming this afternoon. Just see what the future brings for us tomorrow and see what the wind speeds are going to be this afternoon.
Despite the wind, the team seem to be making some headway. They're attaching the first of the many explosives that will blow the cranes. And because it's a steel job, it will take more than one explosive to make it work.
We're using a combination of 2 different types of explosives. This is the first one. This is Gelimex, which is a nitroglycerin-based explosives for the kicking charges. We strap these together to make a bomb, so to speak, and that's strapped onto the leg, which actually pushes the leg out once the cutting charges have cut through the steel. This explosive here is called what's known as blade. It literally cuts through steel. It's just black foam. Inside there, the green is the explosives, and the orange is soft copper, which forms a jet, which forces all the pressure out into one area, which makes a clean cut through steel.
They're using 15 kilos of blade, the shaped cutting charge, and 18 kilos of jelly mix. The blade will chop through the supporting legs here, and the jelly mix will provide the kick to push the supporting legs away from the cranes. If they ever get it finished, of course. There's tension building on site, and Holly's world's about to fall apart.
Hi. Where's Mark? Is what? Right, okay. Look, ring me, Emma, please, as soon as you know. We've got 1.5 days left and a hell of a lot of work to do, and my sister's just rung me and she's actually gone into labour, so I'm a bit concerned about that at the moment. But obviously I'm going to have to stick around and get this done, because we've got a deadline to meet.
A few hours later, Holly leaves the site to be at her sister's bedside. The labour pains are well and truly growing on both fronts. Mick and Phil are still up against it. Even though they've finally finished attaching the explosives to one crane, there's still 2 left. 2 cranes in 2 days looks like too much.
A bit worried that we're going to be a no-go for Sunday.
As Mick contemplates failure, across the Mersey, things are also subdued. Between them, Ex-employees Eddie Makin and Bill Suckley spent almost 100 years working in the shipyard.
You name it, we built it. It's sad because there's nothing left for the young people that's coming up behind us. I've got children of my own who are grown up now. They've got children. They'll never see anything like that.
It'll be just the same as watching the last boat that we did in 1993 going out of that gate over there and saying that's the end.
Meanwhile, Mick and Phil are still carrying on the fight, but with no Holly, it's even more of an uphill struggle. The arrival of darkness sees them concede defeat.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to finish on Sunday morning, come in really early Sunday, and finish off the charging and connecting on the third one then. So, just hope the weather's all right tomorrow.
Day 4, crisis time. The gloves are off, and the team have had to draft in yet another pair of hands. Dick Green has joined them, so now there are 4 explosives engineers on site. After leaving the job yesterday to rush to her pregnant sister's bedside, Holly has returned. It was a false alarm, but the birth could happen at any moment. The struggle to meet the deadline sees the team picking up a real head of steam. The extra effort has seen the team finish 2 of the 3 cranes. Problem is, there's still 1 crane left, and tomorrow is blowdown day. Six o'clock. It's D-Day. The team have 5 hours left to hit the deadline, but they are still working on the final crane. One thing that's finally going the team's way is the wind. It's relented. But the pressure on Holly hasn't.
My sister's been in labour for 2 days, so I'm a bit worried about her. And still nothing's happening, so I've just spoken to the hospital and apparently it's all systems go now, so hopefully I'm going to get back in time to see her.
Even though the team is still working, other preparations carry on. There's a 200-metre exclusion zone around the cranes, but because they are visible from major roadways, the Highways Agency and police will have to slow traffic moments before the blowdown. Time's running out. Eddie Makin and Bill Suckley are here to pay their last respects. Meanwhile, Mick and Holly are finally down from the cranes. It looks like they've got something to smile about.
We're on schedule now. We've got a couple of hours to go and probably only about half an hour's work left now. We've just got the final connections to do now.
They've made it. All the explosives are connected up. So too are all the cranes. Around the site, the anticipation's building.
It's going to be one hell of a bang, this. At least the clouds lifted now a bit, so I'll let it disperse, yeah. It'll be a hell of a 3 bang.
5 minutes to go.
Everybody's out now, so it should be all right. Been quite a stressful morning, generally.
But then there's a moment of madness.
He's coming out.
6 people are risking life and limb by walking through the exclusion area.
Oh, come on! 5 minutes!
Give that radio, Phil, give that radio.
People coming out of the building here.
Come in, sentry number 4. Number 4, there is a few people coming through the warehouse. I believe you're the one in the middle behind it. Nobody, and repeat, Nobody is allowed to enter that building.
Has he just let them through?
No, they've probably gone in before.
Mate, we've got 5 minutes to blow down. Can you get outside the zone?
Yeah, the other side.
Yeah, right, the other side of the fence, mate.
Is there anybody else in that building?
People coming all up.
We're going in.
No, they sent us all through it.
They didn't send anybody through here. I'm going to go in, mate.
Telling me let's nobody through. Nobody.
It's miles out to the other side of the building.
Right out, mate. You have to walk around the fence and go right out.
If they'd walked out 5 minutes later, they could have been killed.
The plunger and everything.
Everything's sound, Dick.
Yeah, where my instruction?
That's a non-L shot firing device. No good without the key, so just keep the key out for now. That's ready to go.
Okay, that's right. 1 minute to maroon.
"30 seconds left. Every move and every angle has been covered. But this was a rush job. After all the problems, can they really be sure it will work?
Stand by for the countdown. 10.
9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Fire now.
Let's go. Jesus
Stay in your positions. Stay in your position.
Nice one, Phil. Nice one, Phil. Well done, Ollie.
But for Bill Suckley and Eddie Makin, it's a bitter moment.
The lifetime gone in 2 seconds. Finished. You won't see them there here again.
Look at this skyline. Ruined.
As Eddie and Bill look on, the team are already heading towards the wreckage to inspect the demolition. Inside the mangled steel, engineer Phil Lowe is looking at the remains.
It's facing this way now. If you remember, we kicked them out that way. So what the column's done, it's turned over and ended up the other way. If you look round the other side and see where it's cut with a explosive cutting charge, it's precise. It's cut it like a knife, or like a guillotine, isn't it? That one.
Cameras inside the exclusion provide an incredible view of the blowdown. The sequence went like clockwork. The far crane going first, closely followed by the other two. And all the explosives went off as planned to allow precise and clinical blowdown. All that's left is piles of twisted metal. The job went well.
The blowdown's brilliant, fantastic, spectacular, I think, for everybody to see. Bit of a noise. A bit of a loud crack, I think, made a few people wake up this morning, the echo across the thing, but no, it's a brilliant job.
With the job completed, it's time for the team to ship out. Some, however, are not on their way home, but to hospital. Holly's sister's baby is finally on its way.
Is it all right if I go? Baby's coming. Cheers, bye. Bye.
Hours later, she became the proud auntie to baby George. What a demolition. It's taken 5 days 4 explosives engineers.
People coming out of the building here.
1 near miss, and 3 massive detonations to get the job done.
Let's go, let's go!
Chingford, London, England. Home of St Fabian Tower. A 60s high-rise tower block. Once dream places to live. 40 years on, it's the stuff of housing nightmares. But in 48 hours, the nightmare will be over, thanks to the controlled demolition group. Meet Dick Green, ex-army, 15 years on the job. Mick Williams, 30 years experience, hooked on explosions since the age of 5. Darren Palin, managing director, the man who can. Together, they're a dream team. They'll demolish anything in their way, but it takes planning, preparation, and precision.
3, 2, 1, fire now.
The team have been working on St Fabian Tower for 2 months, and they're planning to turn it from this into this in just a matter of seconds. The tower block is 22 stories high. There's 10,000 tons of concrete and buildings almost close enough to touch on every side of this mammoth structure. Some, like the Paradox Community Centre, are just 10 meters away. And even local school children play in its shadow. They can't afford to get anything wrong.
The houses themselves are about 15 metres away. We've got 8 to 10 metres at the back to the Paradox Centre. Probably got a good 30 metres here to the nearest house here, and again 15, 20 metres to the left-hand side. So it's really confined space to drop it into. There's maybe, I don't know, 8,000, 9,000 tonne of rubble up there that's going to flat pack big time because we're blasting 11 floors, and it's all got to have room to get into.
Tower blocks are the most common job for the controlled demolition team. During the 60s, they sprung up all over the country. They were built as desirable urban dwellings for the inner city. But times have changed. They've become national eyesores. And residents can't get out of them fast enough. St Fabian's ex-tenants have now swapped 60s chic for something more compact and bijou, and getting rid of the tower will complete the estate's transformation. The main concern for the team is the neighbourhood community centre, which is located at the back of St Fabian Tower. It's just 10 metres away and could be completely wiped out if things go wrong. To prevent this, the explosives must detonate in sequence to split the tower block into 2 distinct parts. The front of the block should fall away first, with the back following seconds after. This should create enough movement to tilt the whole structure away from the community centre to safety. The tower has been stripped of windows and fittings, leaving behind just the skeleton of the building. But to determine how much explosive to use, the team has to have a trial run. For the test blast, the team are using 60 grams of explosive. That's about a small cup full of powder, on a wall that's about 20 centimetres wide and 90 centimetres deep.
What we're doing now is we're doing a test blast on a section of structural wall. The reason we're doing that basically is 2 reasons. Firstly, to make sure that the amount of explosive we use is sufficient to blow the wall out, and secondly, that the protective measure we take is sufficient to contain the fly. So what we're looking at is putting enough explosives to crack the wall, but not send it flying around. Okay. Firing now!
As the dust settles, Dick gets his first look at the rubble.
Well, I'm not a structural engineer, but I think it's fair to assume, even from a novice, that the load-bearing capacity of that wall has been taken out. If you look at the old days when you got the two extremes, you got John Wayne driving in with a chuck wagon full of explosives and lit it with a cigar and it blew the mine out, and then you've got, as I say, Tom Cruise going up the top of the building and doing it with a matchbox. That's reality. That's not stage managed. You've seen that. That's what it is.
So a small cup of explosive took out one column. Armed with this information, the team now know exactly how much explosive to use on the whole building. It's a crucial part of the process. In this tower block, the explosives went off, but it failed to flat back properly. It ends up sitting precariously on a pile of its own rubble, just like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but less elegant. But explosive demolitions can cause even worse hazards. This may look like a successful blowdown as spectators watch the demolition of a local hospital. But look closely at the screen. Flying debris starts landing in the water, just missing people on the lake. Other spectators weren't so lucky. Pieces of steel were propelled 400 meters into the crowd, leaving some seriously injured and one girl dead. So explosives are critical, and it's vital the team chooses the right way to bring down St. Fabian Tower. The team selects the floors where they'll place the explosives. These are called blast floors. There are 11 in all, and this is where the main impact happens. But if the team get their calculations wrong, it could cause devastation. St. Fabian is 80 meters high, and remember, there are buildings on every side. If the tower moves too far in any direction, it will flatten any buildings in its way. The team have calculated that they need 1,500 explosives placed throughout the tower. Each explosive is put inside a drilled-out hole in one of the supporting columns. To bring down the building as planned, the team are using 50 kilograms of det cord, perfect for thin walls. With the right amount of explosives, then comes the tubing. These interconnecting leads contain a reactive substance that weave their way throughout the building, linking all the supporting columns together. In all, there's 13 miles. That's the equivalent of half a marathon. Add the detonators, and things get serious. These contain delays that trigger the explosives, setting them off in sequence. That means the demolition can be made to blow down different parts of the building at different times. A firing line is then connected to the detonating cord. It's this pink tube that carries the initial spark from the exploder into the building, blowing it down. But in demolition, nothing's ever straightforward. Under the tower block, there's a major problem, which could turn this blowdown into an environmental catastrophe. St. Fabian Tower was built on top of a tunnel which carries the River Ching, a key water source for the whole area. But the tunnel and the river are now under threat. When the demolition happens, 10,000 tons of concrete will come crashing down on the tunnel roof. It's a massive weight that's forced the team to add these steel struts for extra support. But if things go wrong and too much concrete falls in one place, the additional weight could force the steel struts to buckle. Worse still, the tunnel might collapse completely, sending hundreds of toxic chemicals into the river. This will be an absolute disaster, as it would contaminate the water supply for the whole area.
You know, this thing starts moving, you get quite a bit of debris in here, don't you? Yep. You get debris stuck there, the next thing you know you've got a blockage and it starts backing up and you've got raw sewage.
Back on site, Mick is working out exactly how much extra protection is needed to stop accidental damage from debris.
Well, what we've got is just protection in the rows of containers here, because behind this is the nearest building we've got to the tower block. Although we're tipping the tower block away from here, the debris pile's still going to spill down this way. So we've got containers with the girders set 4 metres into the ground just to arrest the pile of debris as it comes down.
These are the homes that are directly in St Fabian Tower's path if things go wrong. There are over 800 residents being evacuated. Many of them used to live in St Fabian Tower, but now there's the real prospect that their new homes could be obliterated by their old one. One of these houses is only 15 metres away, and it has to be covered from the front to the back because of the dust expected from the demolition. Around the corner, Soraya Sadat and her family are glad they've had a cover-up job as well.
The dust is my main concern, really, because there is a lot of dust to be expected. So I suppose we'll just have to wait and see what the end result is. Well, the kitten, I think we're going to leave him here. They said he'll be safe, so as long as all the windows and doors are shut, then he should be okay.
With over 800 residents to evacuate and only 24 hours to go, the pressure's definitely on for the team. Coming up in part 2, the moment all explosives engineers dread. With minutes left till blowdown, a tenant goes missing. Early morning. There's only 4 hours till blowdown, and if all goes well, the tower block will soon be hitting the deck, just like this. The explosives are in, the columns are connected, and the protective wrapping is on. Out on the estate, it's an early start for the residents and the team.
It started early this morning. People started arriving on site around 6 o'clock. There was a briefing, so everyone was aware of the responsibilities and who was doing what. And then slowly things started to happen, such as the roadblocks, setting up the canteens and the alternative accommodation. And it's basically a constant clock then, working down to the 12 o'clock deadline when we'll finally press the button.
The blowdown must happen at 12. Hitting the deadline is paramount. Roads have to be closed. Gas and electricity have to be cut off, and the police can only be on site for a limited time. The evacuation and cover-up job are taking shape. Deep inside the building, the team are busy making last-minute checks.
Can we start checking floor by floor, making sure we've got all the connectors right, everything's connected in, so there's no chance of any of the components not going off. Probably take about an hour to get down the building, but it's got to be done.
Everything has to be checked and double-checked because people's lives and homes are on the line. The success of this demolition hinges on the explosives detonating in exactly the right order. A wrong move, and all the team's hard work could be undone in seconds, with dramatic results. But the team have to put this to the back of their minds as the evacuation of residents begins in earnest. Among the first to leave are Soraya Sadat and her flock, followed by everybody else. But somebody is missing.
Hello? We'll keep working on it, and I'll get the carpenter who's on site on standby, so we'll get him to come down.
I think get him in now,
Yeah, we'll get him to come down.
I don't think
What age
is
the
lady
in there? Sorry?
What age is she?
Whoever we knew, he's got full grip on it, he can give a name and everything.
Every passing second is eating into their precious schedule. Mick's had enough and makes his own call to the evacuation centre. 10 anxious minutes pass before the police finally give the all clear.
No, she's gone.
She's in her 30s.
Crisis over. It's time for blowdown.
Stay vigilant and let's keep everybody 100% outside the zone. The workmen...
Dick starts to secure the exclusion zone as the rest of the team begin their final preparations.
Emergency, go it through me. Out.
The clock's ticking as Mick prepares the warning rocket for action.
This is the warning shot. It's the exploding rocket we send up into the air 30 seconds before blowdown, just to warn everybody that everything's on schedule. So, just a 2.5 inch maroon, makes a big bang. Probably bigger than the shot itself.
Makes 2 bangs.
All eyes are anxiously glued on St Fabian Tower. Final preparations are taken care of.
Now 11:30, 30 minutes to blow down.
Everyone, yeah, basically told them everything inside the night.
Yeah, block checked. Bin in, mix bin in, check the block. Complete.
And the last connections are made.
2 minutes to blow down. 2 minutes to blow down. Out.
But Mick's still got more tests to go.
So just cutting that ready to fire. And just to test the exploder, I'll fire this tubing off that's left. You might just, as we run it out a bit, you might just see the flash.
This is the exploder that should spark the firing line, but there's a problem. The exploder has failed.
Who's that one?
Dick's concerned. It's the last thing they need.
Left the firing team and the control point personnel.
That should click anyway.
It's an exploder we've not used for a long time. It's a new one, that as well. So I used the one we used last week.
Second time around, a perfect fire.
10 seconds to maroon. 5 maroon.
Our cameras have been strategically placed all around the demolition site. Each one will capture the full impact of the demolition as it happens. The St Fabian building has towered over Chingford for almost 40 years. Its demise has been a long time coming, but as the saying goes, what goes up must come down.
Stand by for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A fire now. Looks good, pulled it forward.
Time for the team to take their first steps into the mass of concrete that was St Fabian Tower.
It doesn't look like it's done much to the wall iron. I can't believe there was a tower block there. I know, it's gone.
Even the metal protective containers have done their job, keeping the debris away from houses.
It's a great job. Well done. Amazing.
And the water's flowing okay. No problem, I'll tie that up from the control point.
First two criteria of nobody being hurt and the building come down has gone off, I believe, successfully. The third priority is to no damage. That's what we're going to look at now, make sure everything's gone off and there's no damage.
It looks like a nuclear winter has hit Chingford. But in some of the streets, the clear-up operation is already underway.
Very good. Excellent job. Everything's contained within the protection we put around, and we've hardly any damage. We've cracked a window that we know of at the moment, and everybody's quite happy. So, excellent job this week.
But one of the biggest questions for the team is what happened down in the tunnel. It's a crucial check. The reputation of the team depends not only on the tunnel surviving the blowdown, but also being safe from future collapse. A thorough inspection reveals not a single steel supporting strut was damaged. With 10,000 tons of rubble now practically on their doorsteps, the residents begin returning home. All the houses have survived, and Saraya Sadat, plus her children, are back.
No, yeah, let me get inside and have a look. Hang on a minute, Tyson. Oh.
Oh, it's like Christmas come home.
Gosh.
I still feel like I'm in a cloud of smoke. So it's a relief. I mean, okay, no more block now. It's going to be weird looking out there and where's that block gone? More light though.
After just 2 hours, the clear-up operation is almost complete. The residents are back, and the team start to leave the estate as if nothing has happened. But it's taken 2 months of preparation. A workforce of 200, 50 kilograms of explosives, 13 miles of tubing, and just 5 seconds to turn St Fabian Tower into a huge heap of concrete lying on the ground. Northeast England, a place where power stations led the way. This is Blyth Power Station. It used to be an industry leader, generating electricity for the whole of the UK, but now it's derelict, disused, and coming down. Controlled Demolition are back in town. Mick Williams and Dick Green are on site for a job that's potentially lethal. The team normally take on high-pressured concrete jobs in urban areas like offices, meters away from businesses, or residential tower blocks, which, if they go wrong, could wipe out hundreds of homes. But this time, they're in the middle of nowhere, so is the pressure off? No chance. Why? Because there's an electricity site next door, which could explode if hit. There'll be huge shockwaves from the blast that could cause massive damage to buildings in the area. And worst of all, the structure's made of steel. And when you combine steel with explosives, you can get shrapnel. And that's just like a huge bombshell. So what type of building could cause such destruction? This one could. This is the transfer tower and conveyors that used to be the heart of the power station, transporting coal to every part of the huge site. Built in 1958, it was the oldest coal-powered station in Britain, employing 800 people. It was the main employer for the area, but thanks to cheaper competition from abroad, the plant shut, leaving behind a large unemployment problem and many disused buildings. So here's the transfer tower that's on its way out. Plus not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 conveyors. It's these highlighted sections that have to go, without damaging anything else around it. During the demolition, pieces of steel could be propelled at over 300 miles per hour in any direction. Like mini missiles, they could rip through anything within 1,000 meters of the blast. And that's why the team are blowing it down bit by bit.
The problem with taking down a power station like this is it's got to be done progressively, certain bits at a time. You can't just go in and blow the whole power station down. Much as we'd like to, make life simple, it's got to be done progressively. Some buildings are still being used, some buildings have to be left standing longer than others. So we have to work round the other buildings.
It's an extremely dangerous job for the team. The transfer tower is 50 meters high with conveyors going at all angles. There's 10,000 tons of metal that has to fall exactly right.
Yeah, I've done a lot of jobs, but I've not done one as awkward as this, to tell you the truth. It's a bit of different technique in this one. It's all got to work perfect. If we get one of these conveyors that doesn't drop, it will alter the collapse mechanism totally. So we've got to make sure that everything is done right.
A major problem for the team is that the transfer tower and conveyors are actually attached to other buildings that cannot be damaged in the blowdown. We can see from the back view that if the demolition goes wrong, the tower will take out this building below, which is still in use. It will also pull over this second tower. If either of these structures are harmed, then the team will have failed. Blowing down steel is a risky business. It's not like concrete that can easily be contained and protected. Steel can't be wrapped, it's too sharp. This news report shows how dangerous it can be. When blasted shrapnel was shot hundreds of meters into the air, just like a bullet from a gun. So the risks are high. The team know there can be no excuses. So here's the tower and each of the conveyor belts that have to be blown down. It works like a domino effect. The smallest conveyor, which is attached to the main transfer tower, will go first. Milliseconds later, the 2 other conveyors that are also attached to the transfer tower will blow. Then milliseconds after that, the 4th and longest conveyor will detonate, before a final explosion sees these supporting columns pushed out. Here's the 5-point plan to blowing down steel. Cut it, attach explosives, connect it, attach detonators, add sandbags. That's the theory, but on this job, everything's a problem. The first step for the team is to prepare the structure before they put on the explosives. This is done by a technique called pre-weakening, and it's just like chopping down a tree. Wedge-shaped cuts are made in the 50-meter high steel supports to determine the direction the building will fall. The cuts at the bottom of the supporting columns have small pieces of metal called shims placed between them. These lessen the friction between the steel so that the structure will come down more easily.
We're just preparing the long conveyor columns, just blowing out a wedge section at the front. You see we've cut a big V artery here. All we're literally doing is putting a very small explosive charge onto that piece that's now wedged in there on the shims to blow out at the same time as we blow the front legs on the transfer tower, and that's just going to start it tilting.
Here's the supporting leg. As the explosive goes off, it will push the steel shims out, allowing the structure to topple to the left. With the direction of the structure sorted out, the team select their explosives. On this job, they're using a unique-looking explosive called Blade, also known as a shaped cutting charge. And it's not your average explosive because it cuts the steel rather than blasting it.
Basically, this is a shaped charge. It's an amount of explosives behind a copper liner So when the explosive is detonated, the liner forms a slug and will actually penetrate through the steel, cutting the steel like a knife through butter.
The explosives are located on either side of this strip of copper. When they detonate, the energy from the spark forces the copper inwards before pushing it towards the structure to cut through it. Working 50 meters in the air, the team begin placing the shaped cutting charges around the steel. Each one comes in flexible strips, so it can be easily wrapped around the tubular steel supports. Taped up, they're ready for action, and the team head back down to earth.
I've done a lot of steel. It's what I've done all throughout my demolition life. So charge weight-wise, I know, nearly spot on what's required. So we've probably got about 7.5 kilos, which is about 14.5 meters of blade going off, which is going to make some crack when it goes off.
To get the extra power to heave the structure away from other buildings, the team are also using jelly mix, a type of dynamite used on thick concrete.
The kicking charges, which is jelly mix we use on here, just to kick out pre-cut sections of steel columns, we're only probably using about 10 kilos of that. We've only small sections to knock out. The columns we've got on front that's supporting the transfer tower are not big columns, so you're only talking about a couple of kilos on each leg just to kick out the pre-cut section.
So the jelly mix will do the small job of kicking the feet out, whilst the shaped cutting charge will do the bigger job of cutting through the steel. Then come the sandbags.
Sandbags behind just force the energy created by the detonation in that direction. If we just tape that round, you'd lose a lot of the energy just back. Put the sandbags up against it, kick it against the leg.
With all this in place, a final spark, and the structure will be on its way down just right. Although this looks spectacular, it can have serious consequences. This is the National Grid electricity site, right next door to the old power station it's replaced. It provides electricity to thousands of homes. But a direct hit from blast shrapnel traveling at over 300 miles an hour could wipe it out. Here's a slow-motion film. In the center is a fizzy drinks can, and coming in from the right is a small piece of steel traveling at 300 miles per hour. That's the same speed shrapnel could fly from the blast. It rips straight through it. And even if the electricity side escapes a hit from the shrapnel, it might not be safe from this. Shockwaves. During demolitions, there's a huge buildup of pressure. As the explosives begin to cut through the metal structure, pressure is released, sending out massive vibrations. Which can have shattering consequences.
It's just a loud bang, it causes air vibration, and that'll shake out windows or force windows with the pressure straight through. So we've got National Grid right in front here. The first job we did on the conveyor on here, early on in the job we used blade and we took out £3,000 worth of windows. So at the moment we've got them all boarded up, we don't want to do that again. So that's really the only problem it causes, but it makes the bang heard for miles around as well.
Nightfall, and with sparks still flying, Mick reveals how things are going.
Well, we've got all the conveyors done. That's the 3 conveyors charged up with the shaped charges on all the horizontal beams. So that's what we wanted to get done today. And there's one little leg we've got to put some more shaped charges on, just supporting one of the conveyors. It's going well.
There's less than 24 hours to go, and Blyth Power Station is still illuminated with activity as the site workers and the team prepare for the 2 o'clock blowdown tomorrow. An ordinary morning, but no ordinary day, as another part of Blyth Power Station is about to be demolished. There's tension in the air as the wind swells across the harbour and everyone awaits the job ahead. 10,000 tons of metal will soon be on its way down, and bits of shrapnel could be flying around at over 300 miles per hour. Out on site, the team are busy preparing for the 2 o'clock blowdown.
It's a good check through everything, make sure the charges are still secure, make sure none of the sandbags are falling down or anything, and they're all tied up against the legs. Connect it all up, ready to go, and then there's really a quick scout round.
Whilst Mick looks round across the harbour, ex-employee Jim Ord anxiously awaits the blast. Jim used to work as an engineer at the power station. He started there in 1967 and can still remember what an imposing place it used to be.
Oh, it was different from a small engineering company to a big, massive power station with 700 people there. It was quite an experience. The site was big, it was huge. When you went up in the B station on the turbine operating floor there, it just seemed to go on forever. And it was quite awe-inspiring at the time.
Jim left the station after almost 3 decades of employment. But with hours left till blowdown, he's made an emotional return.
It's very strange, it's very strange. When you see the place now, it's like a building site or a scrapyard. When it used to be pristine and the most efficient power station in Europe and the biggest and the best, and we were all quite proud of it. And then you see it now, it's moving with the times. I think I'll be pleased to see it go completely now.
And it's almost ready. One of the final safety checks is to go into the tower to make sure that all the explosives are still in the right place. On the face of it, it's very dangerous. The structure's had many sections removed, but Mick's convinced that it's safe.
Well, it's still as stable as it was originally, and we took some small pieces out of the conveyor support, but it's not weakened the structure much. It's just sort of the wedges wedged in place that need knocking out. So it's still a good stable structure, but once the explosives go off and remove those, it won't be so stable.
So the structure's safe, at least for the time being, and the team start connecting up. Each one of these tubes goes right into every piece of the transfer tower and the conveyors, and is linked to either the shaped cutting charge or the jelly mix explosives that will blow down the building. The demolition of tower and conveyors threatens the whole area. As a result, controlled demolition aren't the only team on the block. There's also Brown and Mason, and it's their job to ensure the 1,000-metre exclusion zone is strictly enforced because of the lethal consequences.
We're here today to fell the conveyors by explosives at 1400 hours. This is your normal safety briefing with the police and with our flag people. It's normal. So if I can just brief you, the only thing I ask you today is we have cutting charges on, which means that when I start to commence the countdown, and when just before I get to 2, 3, 1, just duck down, okay?
With that stark warning, radio checks are made to ensure the alarm can be raised if anyone enters the area.
Radio 18. Radio 19. Radio 20.
With the clock running down, the police head off to close all the surrounding roads. Only those with authorization can stay on site. Everyone else must leave the danger zone.
Precinct, and maybe turn on all at the same time.
10 minutes left, and Mick's taking care of final preparations. The exploder is primed for action.
Ready? Yeah?
Success. They're ready to go. Now, normally on blowdown day, Dick's job is to make sure everything runs like clockwork. But today, it's Mick's turn.
No. Normally I'm tied down on these jobs, doing the countdown and the sentries, so because Brown and Mason's doing it this time, it gives me a chance to keep my thumb in and do a bit of practice.
Just 30 seconds to go. We have cameras located all around the site, ready to catch every explosion as it happens. It's time for blowdown. Blyth Power Station has been a focal point of the northeast industry for almost half a century. The transfer tower and the conveyors were the heart of the station, supplying coal to every part of the site. But it's all over now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Just outside the exclusion zone, ex-employee Jim Ord gives his reaction.
That's amazing, that. It's like the end of the world. A lot bigger bang, a lot more dust. I didn't realise there was as much coal still left up there. But yeah, all done and dusted now.
As the team go to examine the remains, they still don't know yet if it worked correctly. But from our cameras, it looks spot on. The smallest conveyor exploded first. Then the supports on the other two conveyors blew. Round the back of the tower, the main support on the longest conveyor went off. Then the supporting legs were kicked out, toppling it away from the other buildings. But the blast was so intense, it destroyed the signal on our camera, then completely wiped it out.
I hope my machine's going in.
Back on site, the team get their first clear view of the tower. Only 3 days ago, they were 50 meters in the air, laying explosives in the structure.
You can see it's come clean off at the top. And the conveyors are just laid here that we dropped down. The tower's right over. Pulled the long conveyor, it launched that straight over, directly in line. It hadn't damaged the buildings right at the side, so absolutely spot on for us.
It's the same story on the other side of the structure.
As you can see, the long conveyor's perfectly flat. It got pulled over along with the transfer tower, it went over. This is a typical hinge we made when we blew out the wedges to just buckle the legs over, and it launched this section of the conveyor along with the tower, flat as a pancake. We were worried about damaging this, wanted to keep this building if at all possible. So, absolutely spot on. It's just landed how we expected it to.
So the blowdown worked. But did the National Grid site survive? A look at the tower shows it ended up meters away from the electricity site, but the shrapnel from the blast didn't hit it. Being an explosives engineer is a pressurized job. But Mick's always got time to talk to his biggest fan.
Yeah, it came down great, Dad. All the conveyors came down, the tower over. That's my father. He rings me after every blowdown to see how things has gone. He's on the phone now, tonight. All the details, all the way through, how we did it. No, he did demolition all his life. It's what he did for a living, so he still keeps an interest in it.
As the clear-up operation continues, the controlled demolition team leave the site. the job's over. It's taken 3 days, 14 meters of cutting charges, 10 kilos of jelly mix, 300 sandbags, and 5 explosions to bring it all down. Blyth Power Station, one of the most famous landmarks in the northeast of England. Michael Caine's Get Carter movie was made against this backdrop. So too was Aliens 3. But this time, the site's not under attack by creatures from outer space, but it's almost that frightening. It's a setting for one of the biggest synchronized demolitions ever attempted. Four massive concrete chimneys stand between success or failure for one of Britain's best explosive demolition companies, the Controlled Demolition Group. Dick Green, Mick Williams, and Holly Bennett are all here. It's a tough mission, but one thing that might be on their side is that they've done demolitions in Blyth before. Last time it was the transfer tower and conveyors that fell by the wayside.
It's dropped really perfectly. The conveyors are just laid here that we dropped down, the tower's right over. It's pulled the long conveyor, it launched that straight over, directly in line. It hadn't damaged the buildings right at the side, so absolutely spot on for us.
If the saying you're only as good as your last job is true, then the team have got nothing to fear. But a great track record is no guarantee for the future. The 4 chimneys weigh a total of 20,000 tons. These here are 140 meters tall, but that's nothing compared to the other 2, which are 170 meters tall. For over 40 years, these chimneys have dominated the horizon, but they're not alone. Right next door is the new power station, pylons and local houses, all at risk if there's even a slightest error. Not only that, there's just 4 days left till the high noon deadline on Sunday. The team's plan is to detonate the chimneys in the following sequence. To be effective, they'll place explosives on the front wall inside each one. On firing, the explosives will detonate to blast the section clean off. The result? The chimney should fall in the direction where the hole used to be. But there are concerns.
If the chimneys went the wrong way, you can imagine a structure 450, 500 foot falling in the wrong direction, and obviously anything in its way would be crushed. So if it fell the wrong way and hit the pylon lines, it would take the pylon lines out. If it fell and hit a house, it would demolish a house.
We've got to make sure we press the button on number 3 before number 2 hits the deck, in case it splatters any concrete sideways as it strikes the floor and cuts any of the tubes leading to it. If that did happen, and number 3 didn't fire and number 4 fired, so we're going to have number 4 crashing into number 3 full of explosives, which we can't have happen.
So here's how they'll do it. Drill it. Fill it. Link it. Wrap it. Blow it.
Working with explosives is good, obviously it sounds sexy. I would say it's probably 5% sexy, 95% dust, asbestos, pigeon droppings, hypodermic needles, things like that. So it's good when we do the blowdown, that's a great part of it. Getting there sometimes, you do get them, what am I doing here moments.
Day 1, and explosives engineer Dick Green has just arrived at work and is examining the site of the test blast to make sure they've got their calculations right.
What the lads are doing now is they're drilling holes inside the chimney. Now we've marked out that the chimney, we have to take more than half the base circumference out for it to topple forward. So we've marked that out now, and we're going to blow a big mouth here in the front of the chimney in the direction of fall. So when that concrete is removed, the stability's gone from the front and it will start moving forward.
The explosives will be arranged in the chimney in the following pattern. During the demolition, this front area will be blasted forward, allowing each one to fall towards the ground.
Scruffy gag. Put it in your pocket.
Meanwhile, explosives engineer Holly Bennett is keeping the men in line.
She'd make a good wife, wouldn't she? Anybody single?
And it's her job to make sure they keep up the daunting schedule of drilling work.
On the smaller chimneys, we've had to drill about 650 holes in each, obviously determined by the hole spacings on the test blast and what explosives we need in there. So there's about 650 on the smaller two and about 950 on the two bigger ones.
Around 3,000 holes. It's essential work to make sure the chimneys fall in the right direction, but it's painstakingly slow. To blast the front section off each chimney, the team used two types of explosives. They're using a total of 140 kilograms of jelly mix, linked with 3,000 meters of det cord.
So basically we've got the detonating cord down the hole, and then what we'll do is we'll put in a proportion of a 100 gram stick of jelly mix. That'll be the primary explosive, if you like, and that'll go down the hole. We'll link all these tails up together, and then when we initiate it, all these tails will go off simultaneously. That goes off at between 6,000 and 8,000 meters a second. So all the charges will go off simultaneously and take out the section from the front of the chimney.
As Holly works on, senior explosives engineer Mick Williams, who's on another job, knows the chimneys are in safe hands.
The knowledge she's gained in a short period of time, it's unreal. She's qualified shot firer now, she's qualified in quarrying, which is more than me as well. But she picks things up very quickly. She's a really bright girl.
The job's progressing well, but they're not only battling against the deadline, they're also battling against the elements.
No matter what the weather's like today up in the northeast, no matter how windy, how rainy, how foggy it gets, we've got to carry on working, and we've got to ensure that these 4 chimneys are ready for 12 o'clock on Sunday. So we just have to work through it.
And work through it they do. It's the end of a grueling day, but there's no let-up as explosives are still being added to the hundreds of holes. Day 2, 9 o'clock in the morning. The weather's improved and Mick's arrived on site.
It's taken a lot more time than I thought it was going to do, tell you the truth, but just difficult access. We're doing a fair bit of work off ladders and things like that, which does slow down the charging period.
The team are still up against it. It's 72 hours till D-Day, and there's no let-up in their heavy workload. Midway through the day, they finally start putting up the first layer of protection.
What we've got here is a conveyor belt which is about 15-20 mil thick, laid down the length of the chimney where we're blasting it, so that when we set off the detonation it will restrict the fly that comes out of the chimney. And there are a few properties still within the complex that have got glass windows, and what we don't want to do is have pieces of concrete flying from the chimney and ejecting through the windows.
And because so much power will be unleashed during the demolition, the team have to add a secondary layer of protection called Teram, a lightweight textile that's incredibly strong. Night falls, 2 days down and only 2 days left. It's the day before demolition. The blowdown's fast approaching, and Mick's thoughts turn to the possibility of failure.
The main problem is to make sure they drop in the right place. I mean, if one of these went off sideways or something, we'd have a catastrophe. We've got a main road straight across. If the other one went back through the power lines, we've got houses close by. Being as tall as they are, if they fell the wrong way totally, you know, we'd have big problems then. It's
never happened before and we don't expect it to, but that's the worst problem that could have happened.
Coming up in part 2, has the team's reputation gone up in smoke?
It's not perfect, so I'm disappointed. If it don't go 100% right, I always am.
Blyth Chimneys, the day before one of the biggest synchronised demolitions ever attempted. They've been drilled, filled, and protected. If all goes well, the demolition will see the 4 chimneys taken out in the following sequence, each one having the front wall blasted off to allow it to fall in the right direction. On site, all that's left now is for the team to start linking up, and Dick's 25 years of military service in places like the Falklands and Bosnia is coming in handy.
When I was in the army during the war, they teach in the engineers to strip your gun in the dark, to defuse bombs in the dark, and for some reason to tie knots in the dark, and to tie knots behind your back, and to tie knots with your eyes closed, and all that. And you do all your training, you do tying knots, and I thought, why the hell am I ever going to need to tie knots in quickly? And the old drill instructor, I suppose, from 30 years ago, I should thank him for showing me how to tie knots or making me tie knots fast. I knew it'd come in handy one day.
The 12 noon Sunday deadline is fast approaching. And inside the chimneys, the topic of conversation turns to a worrying matter. The team has only 3 firing devices, but there are 4 chimneys to detonate. So they'll have to swap one mid-demolition.
Tomorrow morning, probably 10 minutes to go, it'd be interesting, I would think. But now we've talked about it, how we're going to do it. We'll be all 3 of us firing something. I'll probably fire the first one, and Dick or Holly fire the second and third, and then I'll have linked up the exploder to the 4th one, ready to fire that one. It'll go all right, but it'll be pretty twitchy, I would think.
Providing Mick doesn't fumble with his fingers or trip over or anything, it'll be okay.
The team have a lot on their mind, and there's just over 12 hours to go. The final protective measures are put in place on the site. Nothing is left to chance. Demolition day, 8 in the morning. Contractors Brown and Mason take charge of the evacuation.
Right then, ours is the first operation. I have to say it's the most important operation. Whether they come down or not is immaterial to us. What we have to do is make sure that we've got everyone accounted for out of all those houses. We're going to make sure that everyone's up and awake and ready to go, whilst the police will just carry on and do your general patrols, leaving most of the work to us at the moment. If there does seem to be any kind of resistance whatsoever, that is when we call on our friends the police, and then they will come in and back us up for that.
There's only 2 hours to clear the 70 houses situated within the exclusion zone.
Go on in. So on your way out, you just tell her or you just catch a man's attention and sign you off.
As far as I know, the bands weren't even there last night. They were down at his mother's.
So they're going to leave at 10:30. Just keep an eye for them.
On site, the team are applying the finishing touches.
What we're doing now is we're going through the 4 chimneys. We're doing in the final tying up of the detonating cord, linking it all together and putting on the detonators and the starter reels. You've done it all before, and as I've said before, you're the most important people on this site. If you come up and say there's somebody in the zone, there's something you're not sure about, even if it's 20 seconds to go, we will stop it. Nobody's going to give you a hard time. We will stop it, we will check, and then we'll go through the system again. If these don't come down at 12 o'clock, it's not the end of the world. If they don't come down, it's not the end of the world. It's egg on our face, it'll cost us money, but it's not the end of the world. If these come down and some kiddie gets hurt or injured, then it is.
Just 1 hour left. Mix under pressure.
Getting all the starters out now, doing the final connections in about 15 minutes once the road's closed. So just running the lines out now to the firing point. Stomach's starting to churn a bit at the moment. making sure everything's right. We've got final checks to do, make sure the evacuation's all done. Just wait for the police, give us a go ahead then once the rolling roadblocks are in place.
All clear on the estate, but for the team, the tension's increasing.
Warming up, warming up.
And even now, Mick's got his hands full.
Hi, David. Aye, bit manic, mate, bit manic. Where are you? All right, mate, I've got to get up and put because I'm running lines out and stuff. I'll speak to you after blowdown.
Number 20.
And just keep back away from this tube, please. The final charges, or the final links across the road now. So you won't be able to come right down there with me, all right?
There's only 30 minutes left till blowdown. And with the connection of the exploder, the final routine gets underway.
Siren on, Dick. Siren on. Siren on.
Never before has Blyth seen a demolition with so much resting on it.
I just press mine, and I'll shout fire Ollie. Shout fire Dick. Yeah.
The team's excellent reputation means this job should be no problem. But the size of the chimneys and the difficulty of the sequence means the result of the demolition will be hard to predict.
Let's go, Anthony.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep moving.
Fire Ollie. Fire Dick. Go on, Joe. Go on. Go on.
Just hold the road while I've gone off. It's all right. Nobody's to come in.
But an hour after the blowdown, there's no word from the team, and the all clear's still not been sounded.
No. What's a hard thing to ask, isn't it? Keep patient.
My friend texted us from the school where all the other residents are. They're all staying at the school, and she says that there's bricks in the road and that, and they've got to clear all that up before they can go home.
One of the chimneys went slightly offline, and consequently when it went offline it hit the ground and caused some splatter. So although nothing went anywhere near the edge of the exclusion zone, what it has done is thrown some mud onto the road here and against the buildings at the back of the site. So what we're busy on with now is cleaning the area up.
20,000 tons of concrete have been brought to the ground in one of the largest synchronized demolitions ever. But this was the moment when one chimney went offline and devastated our camera.
We've got the first one that we dropped this way that was supposed to go, it swung off about 20 degrees, something like that. That's why we've got a lot more debris in the road than we anticipated, and we've caused a bit of cosmetic damage to inventions, porta cabins and things like that over there. The one at the back has swung off the other way. It's gone about 15 degrees to the right, and it's done a little bit of damage to National Grid. We've cracked one of the pot insulators on top of the transformer, and we've also smashed a couple of windows and put a few holes in the shed. To cause any damage is disappointing. We did get a lot of splatter when it hit the deck. We were expecting that, but if we'd have kept them online, we wouldn't have caused any damage, I don't think. We'd still got a bit of spillage onto the road. It's not perfect, so I'm disappointed. If it don't go 100% right, I always am.
A downbeat Mick remains on site, whilst outside, it's the start of a new era for the town as life starts getting back to normal.
Overall, it's a good job. This has been a job that's taken 3 years overall. It's a spectacular event at the end, 4 big chimneys like this. Fairly tight site with the National Grid on one side and the road on the other. So we ought to be absolutely elated, but I'm just still a bit disappointed. Bye, Ollie. Bye, Dick.
Controlled Demolition's years of work at the power station are finally over. The team may be disappointed, but this was a major achievement. The chimneys are down, no one was injured, and Blyth's skyline will never be the same. Birmingham, England's second largest city, with a skyline that's no stranger to the odd tower block or two. But that's all about to change with the explosive demolition of this Flint Tower. This horror high-rise will soon be eliminated from the landscape. That's if explosive engineers, the Controlled Demolition Group, have anything to do with it. Mick Williams, Holly Bennett, and Dick Green are the British crusaders of the demolition world. When it comes to taking out buildings, they take no prisoners. What the team wants, they normally get. But with the deadline set for 11:30 on Sunday morning, just 4 days away, they'll have to be on top form. Flint Tower is 20 stories high and is made of 6,000 tons of reinforced concrete. It's going to be extremely tough to bring down, but what's worse is it's completely surrounded.
We've only got 10 metres to each side of the building to properties and Newport Road. If we get spillage onto there, I think it'd cause utter chaos in Birmingham. We've got about 20 metres to the back of shops. To the right-hand side here, we've got a social club right next to it. The boundary wall is part of the social club. It's like a joint wall. And to the rear to a car park, it's about 8 metres, something like that, so it's a very tight site.
To prevent a major catastrophe, the plan is to detonate the tower in 3 delays, allowing the tower block to be pulled slightly forward, but not pulling it so far that it would destroy any buildings in the line of fire. And they'll do it like this. Drill it. Charge it. Cover it. Clear it. Blow it. Built in the 60s, Flint Tower was made up of 70 flats. Derelict and abandoned, they're about to get even more holes than they've got already. Explosives engineer Dick Green is keeping an eye on things.
At the moment, we're just finishing off the pre-weeding and the drilling phase, getting ready to start protection and charging up. We've been on it now for about 7 weeks. It's not bad for drilling this block. There's about 150 holes a floor to drill, which is a total of just under 1,000. We've got a few extras down on the ground and first floor.
Just a few hours into day one, and already there's a problem on site. Senior explosives engineer Mick Williams is less than happy.
Alan, we've got a big problem now, mate, with the water. The standpipe on site that it feeds, the wagon driver's knocked it and it's bust. We've got a full bore water. It's flooding the place. Now we want an emergency team out here.
Well, what's happened is they've been removing a couple of skips from round the back, and unfortunately he's backed it round. He's run over the main, it's cast iron, and the pavement's gone down a bit and cracked the main by the looks of things. It looks like that's where it's coming from.
The burst main is causing havoc. Not only does it stop the movement of machinery around the site, it's also hampering the team's chances of meeting their Sunday deadline. Whilst Mick's got problems with his waterworks, on the front of the building, there's a cover-up going on.
At the moment, we're on the final phases of the protection, which is the external protection. We've done the majority of the inside, the internal wrapping, so we're putting the terram on the outside as a final curtain. What we have got this week is bad winds, which always seems to come on the last week. We can't put them up too early, otherwise they may deteriorate and get blown off, so we'll leave it till the last week. And it's sod's law that the last week will be very windy, so as you can see, they're struggling putting the curtains up, but they will get them up.
Each layer of this geotextile called terram helps prevent the fly of concrete during the demolition. Job done. 6 blast floors will be primed with explosives, and it's here, on each floor, where the main impact will take place. With the end of a very wet and windy day, the team finally gets some time to relax.
What we got coming tomorrow, Dick? Any idea? Remember?
My fault. Everything's always...
Day 2. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and the explosives for each blast floor have arrived on site.
Throughout the tower block now, we're using 32 kilograms spread over approximately 1,000 charges. The explosive we're using is detonating cord. Pentaflex is the trade name for it. It's basically a cord that comes on reels of 100 metres to 250 metres, and it contains PETN, which is the powder explosives inside. This you can put through the wall along the length, and when it's detonated, it will crack the whole wall nice and evenly, as opposed to maybe blowing holes out here and there. So it's an ideal tool for this sort of job.
Demolition may be a man's world, but the team do have their feminine side, although today, female engineer Holly Bennett is feeling rather homesick.
Working away from home can get it gets a bit lonely, don't get me wrong, because obviously I'm the only girl that works on site at Controlled anyway, so but I'm with Mick and Dick and Phil most of the time. And it can be a little bit difficult when you do get a weekend off trying to fit everything in, obviously, because I've got a big family and I have to go visit everybody. So basically that's what I do when I get a weekend off.
This morning we've been finalising all the external protection, putting the final containers in, getting them filled up with ballast, things like that, and still charging, starting to connect up. So it has been hectic. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
But with the deadline only 2 days away, there's no let-up in the work effort on site. The final link in the external protection are these steel containers located meters from the base of the block. It's their job to arrest the 6,000 tons of concrete which will hit the deck. Anything less and it's disaster for the team. And inside the block, Dick Green's got his hands full.
What we're doing now is we're doing the connections. We've done the charge on all the upper floors now, so we're just connecting them in. Basically all the 1,000 leads that are coming out, all the holes, have all got to go down to one lead that will come out the building, and that's what we'll fire on Sunday. So we'll go through a system now of going round, bunching them up into bunches of various numbers, putting connectors on which will set off the number of tubes, and then bringing all those connectors together so that, as I said, we have one lead going outside the building.
It takes 10,000 metres of explosive tubing to connect the whole building.
Today has been pretty hectic, but we had a really good day. We've charged now 5 out of the 6 floors, a little bit to finish on one of them. But brilliant on the explosives. We've got a lot more done than we expected to. Protection's all coming together. Few problems overcome today, so pretty good day.
But that's all about to change when Mick has to call in the law.
Oh, they want to get cops in now then?
Hi.
Birmingham, England's second city. There's just 48 hours to go until the demolition of Flint Tower by the Controlled Demolition Team. The explosives are in. The wrapping is on. And the protective containers are in place. But this site is extremely small. The tower block must detonate in 3 delays, allowing it to move just a few meters forward, while still preventing it wiping out buildings directly in front of it. As work continues on site, across the road, the memories are flooding back for ex-tenant Elizabeth Gall, who lived in the block for 6 years.
Flint Tower holds memories for a lot of people. That was my first home with my husband, because I lived with my mum for years before, so it was like our first proper home together. And you couldn't wish for a better spot to live. My mum come in to the 7th floor with my youngest daughter, and my middle daughter lived on the 15th floor. Make you want to cry to think it was such a lovely block has come to this.
But the day has not got off to a good start for Mick Williams.
Now we've got the main machine behind, broke down, the hydraulic pump's gone on it. We've got a fitter coming out to it. We've had to wire a JCB in just temporarily to finish digging off the trench. When you need a machine, it tends to break down exactly when you need it, desperate.
Mick may be unhappy, but nobody can wipe the smile off Dick Green's face today.
Well, unfortunately, I've drawn the short straw, so on Tuesday, after the blowdown, I've got to fly out to Guam in the South Pacific. We've got a job over there. I've been over once to look at it, and we're going over now to have a more in-depth look and sign the agreements. So it's to blow a hotel down on the beach in Guam, so it probably rates up with the other jobs I've done abroad.
I am actually a little bit scared of flying, the one and only thing that I am frightened of, and obviously it's a 24-hour journey to Guam. It'd be really nice to go and see what it's like over there, and obviously a little bit warmer, probably less rain.
But I'm looking forward to it. It's nice, and I know it's not Birmingham, but you have to take the rough with the smooth.
Dick can't rest on his laurels too long. There's only 16 hours to go to get the job completed. And with demolition day just round the corner, it's all hands on deck to meet the 11:30 Sunday deadline. It's D-Day. There are gale force winds on site.
You can't get up, you need it on a good angle. You've hurt yourself, yeah. Good.
And a worried boss, Darren Palin, has turned up.
Good. Forget it.
Well, obviously the wind today in particular is very strong, and we wouldn't like the men up in the block on the floors. We've had to work really in between the kind of lulls of the wind to put the protection into position. But the problem you have is that, you know, from a health and safety perspective, you don't want men hanging onto the kind of like sails and flying across
Birmingham.
Meanwhile, Dick's checking the exclusion zone is secure. There's around 200 residents being evacuated, and it's crucial they're clear of the area before the blowdown, due to the danger of flying debris causing injury or worse.
We're just walking around the exclusion zone just to make sure that all the barriers are in position and all the sentries are in the right places, the road closures have been put in position and everybody knows what they're doing. There'll still be a lot of movement inside the zone. The housing are now clearing the people out the houses from 8 o'clock, so there'll be people going out, but very few coming in.
It's been an early start for everyone this morning, including a bleary-eyed Holly Bennett.
We started putting the barriers out at 5 o'clock, so we've been very busy so far. But not long now, Mick's actually just gone up the block, and we've just got to try and get all this gear out of sight at the moment. And then straight back in after the blowdown, so that's going to be fun.
The dangerous wind conditions are not helping the team's mood, and things are getting fraught.
What? Yeah, leave it. Yeah, somebody will get hurt, it's not worth it. It's not a problem unless it comes right off. It's not going to come off.
Everything seems to be turning against them.
Well, they want to get cops in now then.
There is a tow truck down the road. I'll go see if I can.
Well, just tell them, but we want somebody to come bang on the doors now and say, can you move these cars please and get towed away.
I'll go do it now.
There are cars everywhere, and they've all got to be moved.
Dick, is that tow truck still down there? We need it to lift this car.
There's been more breakdowns this week than at a Grand Prix, and the deadline's getting closer.
We've got to get some steel structures, some steel struts across from the back of the containers to the footpath. Can't do it while the cars are there. But we have got a tow truck in and the police, so they can get them lifted. I don't want to do it really, I want to sooner bang on the doors and see if we can get the residents to move them themselves. We don't want to be towing them away. But it will put the programme back if not, so we've got to do it within the next 20 minutes so we can get all the struts in.
There's no time for a mechanic, but Dick does have some words of wisdom. There's less than 2 hours left, and the evacuation's just getting started. Every single car and every single resident must be cleared from the exclusion zone.
Okay, that'll do.
And everything's turned off. I knew we should be on telly one of these days, you know, Joe. And you haven't got your badge on now? No, I haven't got my badge.
Yeah, I'm going to stay here and not go in the building. That's fine.
Okay, thanks again very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
It's a shame, really, because it was a nice proper years ago, weren't it?
And with a few final flicks of a light switch, ex-tenant Elizabeth Gall leaves her home and closes the door on her past. The evacuation's complete, but outside the block, work is still continuing.
This at the moment now is the area that we're concentrating on getting these girders in basically. Everything else seems to be going okay. A couple of cars to move, and the lads are clearing the site.
When we've taken this down, Rob, can you lift your feet up and drive back a bit? There's a tow truck coming for that car.
I'm going to a meeting at 9 o'clock. Got another meeting.
Oh, look at you.
The final supports go into place. When the 6,000 tons of concrete fall, it's these girders that will take the strain to keep the steel protective containers in place. If they fail, then the team fail. The busy activity on site is a world away from what's happening around the exclusion zone. Meanwhile, Mick's finished on site and is making his way to the firing point.
The steelwork's now in the road. Well, it's 11:05. It's 25 minutes. We've plenty of time to do what we've got to do.
No problem. Mick's here just going around now. He checked with them all, make sure we're all at the edge of the zone when we do the blowdown. Thanks.
15 minutes to go, and ex-tenant Elizabeth Gall is finding it hard to cope.
I'm sad, really, really sad. And that's brought a lump to my throat. It's like my block. It's very, very sad. And oh, God, it is. I didn't think I'd do this.
5 minutes left.
Warning siren on.
There's no disguising the extreme difficulty of this job. This demolition is on the smallest of sites with no more than 20 meters on any side. There's no margin for error. The apprehension is clear for all to see.
Fire rocket, fire rocket.
"20 seconds to blow down."
Success or failure will be caught on these cameras.
We'll count down from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire now.
That was my home, and it's gone. You know, there'll never be another Flint Tower, ever. When how many blocks of flats to build, there'll only be one Flint Tower. Ooh.
Fire now. Go on, baby, go on, go on.
Years of history and memories have been wiped out from Birmingham's skyline in seconds. But is it mission accomplished? The 20-story block came down as intended, and a spillage of debris didn't even reach the protective containers. Less than 1 hour later, the clear-up is already underway. Without a doubt, this has been their best result of the year.
The blowdown went really, really well. Obviously, you can see everything was contained within the site. We've just got a bit of civilising to do, which they're on with now, with the lift shaft on top of the pile.
It looked good as it was coming, but I thought the pile was a bit higher than it was until we got up close. It's been a hard job, this one, tight programme, but excellent result.
As the clear-up goes on, the residents start returning home. The demolition was a complete success, but it's not only been a special day for Birmingham, it's also been a very special day for one member of the team.
It is my birthday today, so to tie it in with my 40th birthday is really good. Yeah, so what I'll do when we finish here, I'll hopefully get a quick getaway and spend the evening with my family. Spend another day with them tomorrow night, and then fly off to Guam for the next job. So it's not the best way to spend your birthday, but it could be far worse. Things are the size of this pile because that's a good one.
Could have got away with not close to the container.
None of the containers would have sit back, would they?
Because they've got a couple of panels there. With it.
By the way, happy birthday, Dick.
Oh, thanks. It's not the best place to spend your birthday, but there's been worse, hasn't there?
There has.